Well, hey guys, welcome back. If you're a returning subscriber, I want to say thank you for coming back. And if you're someone new, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button as well as the bell icon next to it so that you can be notified whenever a new video of mine is posted. I have an exciting video to share with you all today. I have a new fragrance that I just got, and I have a bit of a story to go with it. So if you're interested in hearing, then just keep watching. The fragrance I want to share with you all today is called NOA. It's spelled a little different. It's spelled NOA, and it's from the house of Cacharel. And I want to give a bit of a backstory to Cacharel because I don't feel like they get as much hype, or they're not as talked about these days. And not a lot of people know about them, but they have some amazing creations, amazing fragrances. Cacharel is a French brand, and they started in 1962. They really gained a lot of their popularity and really started out when one of their pink shirts was on the cover of Elle magazine, and that was in 1963. Their popularity and reputation really just grew in the 1960s and 70s. They're really known for their youthful, fresh, trendy fashions. And so with the success of their fashion brand, they branched out into fragrance and came out with their first fragrance in 1978. And I'll insert a picture here so that you can see the bottle, but it was called Anai Anai. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And it's a really popular fragrance still to this day. A lot of people love it, and it really has a good following. It's a very classic, what I would describe as like a clean, fresh floral. And so with the popularity of that fragrance, they really began branching out into the fragrance world and came out with some awesome creations, as I mentioned. So that's a bit of a backstory to Cacharel for you all. I personally have a hard time, especially in this day and age, finding a lot of their creations in places that are easy to purchase them from. I can't find them in like a department store. From what I've discovered and what I've experienced, I can only really find their fragrances through discount websites like fragrancenet.com and fragrancex.com, or even eBay. You can find a lot of their perfumes. So I'm not sure if they are no longer stocking in department store retailers. They might just be selling to these outlet stores and doing business through there. I'm honestly not sure. And that's actually how I found this bottle, and that's where the story begins. So I want to get a little bit into the story first, and then I will jump into the fragrance and we'll talk all about the perfume. But it's kind of a cute, fun story how I came across this. So it was my 20th birthday recently. I know that's gonna shock people because for some reason people think I'm older. I think it might be the makeup or the way that I carry myself or something, but I always get told that I look older than I really am, and I don't know whether to take it as a compliment or not. But it was recently my 20th birthday, and my boyfriend and I, we live in Vegas. And it's funny because you would think if you live in Vegas, you always know that there's something to go out and do. But for my birthday, I could not think of what to go out and do. And so my boyfriend and I are kind of discussing ideas, and we finally decided on going to the Stratosphere. And I have been there before with my family. We went in 2018, and it was a whole lot of fun because there was this huge storm and it actually blew out the power. So that was a fun memory. It wasn't that big of a deal, but I have good memories with the Stratosphere. And so my boyfriend and I decided to go on the observation deck and just go up there and see the night view of the whole strip in the city. And they have, restaurants up there and drinks up there and stuff. And when we were done, we took the elevator down, and they have this little shops section where there's clothing stores, and I found a perfume store, and so that's where I went into. And it was really sad because I saw that this perfume store was going out of business, and so I thought that I would peek my head in there and see what was up and see what I could find. And I was talking with the lady there, and they were actually selling the bottles that they put on display, and usually they're marked as a tester, but sometimes they're not. And that's actually what this is here. I don't know if, can I see on the packaging? Yeah, it says tester there at the top. And so she actually sold this to me for like $20. The reason I was going in there was because of the first fragrance that I mentioned, which was a NOA. And that's one that you kind of like can't find anywhere. You can find it online, but I wanted to smell it in person if they had it, because like I said, those discounters usually carry those types of fragrances. And so I wanted to smell a NOA, and I actually did, and I thought it was pretty pleasant. It definitely has this like vintage feel to it, but I'm not someone who shies away from a vintage fragrance. I love them, and I have a lot of them in my collection. But she showed me this second perfume, which is NOA from Cacharel, and it just ignited this memory in my head. And that is something that I love about fragrance. I love when I can smell something and it takes me to a time and place in my life that I can relate that smell to. And when I smelled NOA, it was exactly that experience for me. And it was like a flashback to memories of my childhood that I didn't even remember that I had. When I saw the bottle, I was already kind of hooked, because if you can see here on camera, it has this pearl inside of it, and like what perfumes these days have items inside of the fragrance. So I thought that was definitely unique. And when I went home, I wanted to research the perfume and stuff. And so it came out in 1998, which totally just clicked for me, because as I was looking through the adverts, which I will also insert pictures of, it just reminded me of something so quintessentially early 2000s when I was a kid. And everything from the way that it smells to the bottle design to the campaign and adverts and the models they use, just the whole vibe of it is so early 2000s to me.
NOA, the gifted fragrance by Cacharel.
And there was actually a description online that fits this perfectly that I really want to read off for you. NOA is a small planet in your hand with a pearl inside. NOA is a transparent composition of flowers, delicate spices, velvety fruit nuances, and the energizing power of coffee beans. Keep that in mind, because I'll come back to that later. This fragrance is like a tender whisper, feminine and subtle, weightless but with a noticeable presence, which is so accurate to how I would describe this even in my own words. Tender, powdery top notes of freesia, peach skin, peony, and musk lead to a floral heart of white flowers, ylang ylang, and rose. The base is woodsy and transparent with coffee and incense touches. NOA was launched in 1998. The nose behind the fragrance is Olivier Cresp, and he is actually a nose behind a few popular fragrances. If you've ever heard of Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, he was the nose behind that one. He was the nose behind Terry Mugler's Angel, and he did Black Opium by Yves Saint Laurent, which is very popular as well. But as I said, back to that coffee note, I want to go into the notes of this fragrance and tell you what I can pull out and what I think causes the nostalgia from my childhood memories. So the main notes that I pull out that are in this fragrance are the white musk, the peony, and the coffee bean note, which is really interesting because the way that they all mesh together creates this big cloud, or as they said, like this whisper of fragrance. I also pick up these delicate floral notes in here, like the white lily and the lily of the valley. There's some fresh green nuances that are very delicately placed into this fragrance that just add to the tenderness and the delicacy of it. I don't get the incense in this fragrance. I don't get the peach skin or the ylang ylang or the rose. It really is, to me, just a white musk fragrance with some tender touches of the peony and the whisper of the coffee bean and the added touch of the lily of the valley that kind of just adds that greenness to it. But back to the peony note, it reminds me of this childhood home that I lived in. I've had like 10 different houses growing up, and while I was growing up, it was like a different house every year, a different school every year for like each grade level. But what really stands out to me is this memory of this backyard of this childhood home that we had. We've lived in a few different suburbs of Denver, Colorado, and one of the homes that we lived in had these beautiful peony flowers growing in the backyard, and they were all pink, and they're like huge flowers. And I remember picking them and just putting them in my bedroom and trying to keep them alive, but they always died. But I remember the delicate smell of the peony flowers, and it just makes sense that if this is a note in this fragrance, it makes sense why I would draw the connection to that childhood memory, because I remember the spring and summer just smelling those in the backyard, and it was like the way they would be heated under the sun in the summer. And it was just like so beautiful with the bees and just like being out of school in elementary school and feeling like I was just a kid outside, playing with friends, hanging out with friends, going over to my friends' houses, and really just feeling so small and feeling like the world was so big and so vast, and just having this huge imagination. And that really is symbolized with what I see in the presentation of the fragrance. It's almost like the pearl is how small I felt as a kid, and the actual bottle is how big I thought the world was. So I know that gets really deep, but fragrance is deep to me. It's not just the way something smells, it's also the emotion and the feeling that evokes from it. And I've felt that way since a very young age, with like the earliest memories of my mom spraying her perfume when she was getting ready in the morning, and when I was going off to school and she was going off to work, just smelling her perfume linger through the home. You know, that evokes a really strong sense of nostalgia for me. My mom wore White Musk for Women by Jovan. If you guys are familiar with that, let me know. Did your moms wear that one too? But when I smell that one, I think of my mom, and it just smells so soft, and it smells like very comforting. And maybe those are just the emotions that I bring out of it, because I do associate it with my mother, but it's just so beautiful and so soft and so feminine, and I don't know how to describe it other than that. So this perfume, as I'm sure you could tell by the vibe I've been giving, by talking about it, it definitely is very serene, very blissful to me. It reminds me of this segment of this video that one of my favorite singers did a few years back, and it's by Lana Del Rey, and it was her short feature film called Tropico. And in that video, one of my all-time favorite scenes is the song by hers called Bel Air. And there's a small segment where she is in this like soft focused film, and it's very airy and very angelic is a good way to describe it. And she's getting baptized. It's just like this beautiful, calm instrumental, and she's getting baptized, and it shows her face, and she's beautiful, and the water is just caressing back through her hair. And this is definitely a smell that I could draw to that video, because it's just so serene and so blissful and so calm. So that is NOA by Cacharel, and that is the very long story that like went 3 different directions, and I'm sorry that I went off on a tangent. I hope it all flows together pretty well. But it's crazy how perfumes will find me sometimes, and how I'll come across these super unique discoveries that I knew nothing about. Like, I walked into that perfume shop thinking that I was gonna walk out with I still don't know how to pronounce it, but I actually walked out with NOA. And it's like, this fragrance is so special to me now because of the memory that's associated with it, being there on my birthday with my boyfriend, you know, someone who is so special and dear to my heart. And it all just comes together into this bottle of perfume, and I've been wearing it consistently, and I just love it. I will leave the link to a reputable website that I've bought from before, where you can also buy this fragrance for, I think, like $23, $24, maybe $25 for the huge 3.4 ounce bottle, which is what I have. This is an eau de toilette, but I find that it lasts phenomenal on my skin. I know I didn't get too much into like the projection and the longevity of this fragrance in this video, but I really just wanted to dedicate the video on going on a tangent, telling a bit of a story, opening you guys up to why I'm so obsessed with fragrance, why I love perfume, and why I invest so much of my time researching and learning and really just diving into the rabbit hole of fragrance. Because my thought about it is that, you know, you can't see perfume, but you can definitely smell it and you can definitely feel it, and it's almost like an invisible language that just speaks to you. I don't know how to explain it just yet, but that's a thought that goes through my head, is like, how can I explain fragrance? But it's almost like it touches a place in your heart, and it accesses a place in your mind where it draws emotions, and it can make you feel, you know, very relaxed and calm. Definitely subscribe if you made it this far and you like this video. Give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment what you think. What are some fragrances that evoke senses of nostalgia or bring you back to a special time and place in your life? And let's just talk about that in the comments. I feel like a lot of us have smells from our childhood that we're reminded of good memories and bring us comfort. And yeah, so there's a conversation starter for all of you in the comments, and I will see you all in my next video. I love you all. Take care of yourselves. Bye.